welcome to World Connect, our weekly lens on the world of our times. This week, cessation of hostilities comes into effect in Syria. For the millions displaced, it's a sign of hope. But with so many warring groups, is it a fragile peace? US President Barack Obama, leaving his plan to close Guantanamo Bay to his last year as president, has put it on the poll agenda, with Republicans sensing people want it to stay. 11 states have primaries or caucuses on Super Tuesday. The 88th Academy Awards come up Sunday amid controversy about being so white, focusing largely on white male-dominated films. Many film critics believe Leonardo DiCaprio deserves his first Oscar. At a time when the natural balance is brittle, the Kayapa tribe of Brazil reminds us that without biodiversity, there would be no air to breathe. It's a peace deal that doesn't have the IS and al-Nusra in it and also allows the other warring groups the right to self-defense. Now, President Assad doesn't want terrorists to take advantage of the peace, while his opposition doesn't want him to take advantage of it by bombing them out of existence on the pretext of self-defense.
The Syrian peace plan, negotiated last week and agreed upon earlier this week, finally comes into effect. The plan excludes the most vicious groups such as Islamic State and Al-Qaeda's Al-Nusra Front and is being considered at least a first step towards a more durable ceasefire in the 5-year-old civil war that has killed more than 250,000 people. The plan allows the Syrian army and allied forces as well as Syrian opposition fighters to respond with proportionate use of force in self-defense. It allows further attacks including airstrikes against Islamic State, Nusra and other militant groups. The other Syrian opposition is wary that the deal provides cover for Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to keep attacking opposition-led territory where rebel and militant factions are tightly packed. The Syrian army is backed by Moscow, Iran and Lebanon's Hezbollah. Against them are rebels supported by the United States, Turkey and Saudi Arabia. A timeline of the conflict reveals that Assad's crackdown on a protest movement in March 2011 transformed into an armed insurgency that over time was overtaken by Islamist groups, notably Islamic State and Al-Nusra Front. More than half the country's population has been displaced, creating an unprecedented refugee crisis in Syria's neighbors and Europe. Despite the truce, the US-led coalition trying to destroy Islamic State wants President Bashar al-Assad to go, while Russia and Iran, also opposed to Islamic State, want him to stay. Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu said Turkey would not be bound by the Syrian ceasefire plan if its security was threatened. Syrian government forces, backed by heavy Russian airstrikes, recaptured another town seized by Islamic State near road to Aleppo, though the route remains cut. The town of Khan Aser is some 50 kilometers southeast of Aleppo. Meanwhile, the United Nations is keen that the cessation of hostilities would speed up the delivery of humanitarian aid to besieged areas and more people would be helped once it is implemented effectively.
If, as we all hope, the cessation of hostilities take hold effectively, they will have an impact on the acceleration of reaching the people in need in Syria, not only in the besieged areas, but everywhere.
A UN Independent International Commission on Syria reported earlier this week that Syria is a fractured state on the brink of collapse, with widespread war crimes by government and the IS. It said the International Criminal Court in The Hague should intervene and the international community must curb the proliferation and supply of weapons to warring parties and end indiscriminate and disproportionate attacks on civilian population.
Iranians voted in twin elections to elect a new parliament and also a new council of clerics that names the supreme leader. The elections are the first after a key deal between Iran and the West over Tehran's nuclear program that led to the lifting of economic sanctions. Now, the easing of sanctions has provided fresh air for the Iranian economy to breathe in. Also, elections are seen as a referendum on President Hassan Rouhani's rule. A higher turnout was reported during polling, and authorities had to extend timings as crowds thronged polling stations. 290 seats of parliament are up for grabs. And in the Council of Clerics, also known as the Assembly of Experts, there are 88 members who will pick the next supreme leader in case of a vacancy. Members serve for 8 years. The current supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is 76 years old and has been in office since 1989. Life is about to change for Bangladeshi man Abul Bajandra, also known as the Tree Man. Now, he underwent surgery to treat a rare genetic condition, epidermodysplasia verruciformis, and not in his wildest dreams did Abul think that he would live to see this day. Doctors at the Dhaka Medical College performed surgery to remove some of his bark-like warts, and the operation took place after it was clear that the warts were not cancerous. Europe's free travel zone will end unless there is a sharp drop by March 7th in number of migrants arriving from Turkey. And the EU Commissioner said quick coordinated efforts are necessary for a joint plan as the migrant crisis in Europe has continued to escalate, even this week amid diplomatic tiffs between countries. Greece recalled its ambassador to Austria after Vienna failed to invite Greek representatives to the Balkan Conference on Refugees. Austria lashed out at Germany's contradictory refugee policy after Berlin sharply criticized a daily limit introduced by Vienna on migrants registering and passing through the Alpine country. Hungary's PM has called a national referendum on EU's plan for a mandatory quota for resettlement of migrants and refugees. Times have been tough for people fleeing the war-torn countries in search of a better life in Europe. This week, thousands of people were left stranded in Greece after Macedonia abruptly closed its borders to Afghans. At least 20,000 migrants are trapped in Greece, which now faces the full pressure of handling the crisis. Even as British Prime Minister David Cameron is strongly campaigning for the English nation to stay with the European Union, London Mayor Boris Johnson has said only a no can persuade Brussels to work out a better deal for Britain. And the mayor was among those who advocated an exit from the union to get the much-needed change for the country. David Cameron has, however, dismissed the idea as a complete fiction, saying that it is a simple question on the ballot paper where UK either stays with the EU or not. The referendum is scheduled for the 23rd of June. Gitmo was set up in 2002 by the Bush administration to deal with the exceptionally dangerous detainees and terrorists who were not entitled to any protection under the Geneva Conventions. Now, it also sought to be closed down by President Obama. But since he's waited so long to do so, it's now a subject of debate in the ongoing presidential race.
It's one of the world's most condemned and infamous prisons, the Guantanamo Bay, on course of closing down if plans of the Obama administration get through all the hurdles. The White House has presented to the Congress a plan to close the detention facility in Cuba, one of President Barack Obama's long-standing goals. Since assuming office in 2009, Obama had put the plan among his key priorities, but deep political divides time and again blocked his attempts. As per a Pentagon proposal, the remaining 91 detainees at the detention facility will be transferred to their home countries or to the U.S. military or civilian prisons. The inmates will be taken to 13 potential sites on U.S. soil, but the Obama administration has not specified any locations as of now. The prison costs $445 million to run annually, and closing it was a 2009 promise made by President Obama. Many argue that the transfer and closure could cost between $290 million to $475 million, so this would be a greater burden. Others say housing remaining detainees in the United States would be $65 million to $85 million cheaper than at the Cuba facility, and so costs would be offset in 3 to 5 years. Saying that he does not want to pass the issue to his successor in the White House, Obama made a final push and urged lawmakers to give it a fair hearing.
For many years, it's been clear that the detention facility at Guantanamo Bay does not advance our national security. It undermines it. It drains military resources. With nearly $450 million spent last year alone to keep it running, and more than $200 million in additional costs needed to keep it open going forward for less than 100 detainees.
The U.S. Congress is deeply opposed to plans of transferring inmates to U.S. soil. Opponents were quick to dump Obama's fresh push.
Guantanamo Bay, which by the way, we are keeping open, And we're going to load it up with some bad dudes, believe me, we're going to load it up.
Let me say this, Mr. President. Don't shut down Gitmo, expand it, and let's have some new terrorists there.
Human rights campaigners have been protesting against the prison, which has held 780 detainees since it opened in 2002. A key opposition on the jail is that many detainees have been held there without charge or trial. Former US President George Bush opened it to accommodate foreign terror suspects after the 9/11 attacks on the United States.
Political temperatures are rising in the US presidential polls as Super Tuesday approaches. The coming Tuesday is super because 11 states will hold primaries or caucuses to vote for a likely Republican or a Democratic candidate. The states of Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, and Virginia will hold primaries to pick Democrat or Republican favorites. The states of Alaska and Minnesota will hold caucuses for Republicans. Colorado, Minnesota, and the U.S. territory of the American Samoa will hold caucuses for Democrats. A total of 595 Republican delegates will be up for grabs. Republicans need 1,237 delegates to win the nomination. As of now, Donald Trump has emerged as the frontrunner, securing 3 of the 4 states. He faces competition from Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. The latest in Trump's wins was the state of Nevada. For Democrats, the hopefuls will lock horns for 1,004 delegates. The Democrat candidate needs to obtain 2,383 delegates to win the nomination. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders have been locked in a close contest. However, recent victories for the former First Lady have boosted her confidence and prospects.
So let's go caucus tomorrow.
The Zika virus presents a formidable challenge that will be hard to stamp out. During a visit to Brazil, the epicenter of the global health scare, the WHO chief Margaret Chan said that the challenge is in fighting the mosquito-borne virus because it is so mysterious. Even the link to microcephaly remains not fully proven. In an effort to curb this disease, other American nations, they have launched various programs. In Haiti, with the confirmed outbreak, as many as 800 people infected, fumigation efforts have started in several parts. Cuban President Raul Castro on Monday dispatched 9,000 soldiers to help keep the Zika virus out of the country. He also called on all Cubans to strengthen sanitation efforts to prevent the spread of the disease. Bolivian President Evo Morales has suffered a referendum defeat that voted a no to a 4th term for him. A referendum was held to change the constitution so that he could run a 4th term. And as the results were out, Morales conceded defeat and said that he would respect the people's decision. Most polls ahead of the referendum had suggested a narrow win was likely, given Morales' solid support among many people who credit him with slashing poverty in Bolivia. But the results were a shocker for the president. UN chief undertook a visit to South Sudan this week. Secretary General Ban Ki-moon urged the country's warring parties to choose peace over politics. Both sides have been squabbling over blame for protracted delays in forming a transitional government, and the peace deal signed in August under pressure from the United Nations has broken down repeatedly. During meetings with officials, it was also decided that aid agencies will be able to have free humanitarian access to all areas of the countries. Well, apps have already changed our lifestyles for the better in most cases. Here's the story about an app that helps pregnant women in the world's most dangerous place to have a baby, Nigeria.
Just a touch on their phones. That's all it takes for pregnant women in Nigeria now to know all about their babies and the expected delivery date. The app Cradle Count is a blessing for mothers of sub-Saharan Africa, which according to the World Health Organization remains the most dangerous place to have a baby. The Android-based app was launched with the aim of reducing infant and maternal mortality in Africa. The app also sends regular pregnancy and health tips to expectant mothers. Launched in November 2015, it has seen over 1,000 downloads so far.
The tips comes with a little baby feet icon, which is very interesting. So it just kind of reminds you that you are expecting and makes you excited about your baby, about the baby that is coming, because pregnancy can be really hard. So you need things to, lighten your mood sometimes. So the app makes you feel nearer to or closer to that child that is about coming.
Only 35% of deliveries in the country are handled by skilled birth attendants. Women in rural Nigeria still rely on traditional birth attendants during pregnancy. This healthcare app is a welcome change in the lives of expectant mothers in Nigeria, where access to proper healthcare is difficult. This gives them a new hope and ideas to take care of their baby and themselves in a better way.
And here are some more stories that are catching attention across the globe.
Months ago, not thinking to be a candidate, but this will have to do it. You will have to participate.
The destruction of the rainforests in Brazil is changing the natural balance, and it's affecting the Amazon Indians, the Kayapos, the most. It is the classical debate of development versus preservation, but one the Kayapos don't want to lose forever.
Alongside the Xingu River in Brazil, the 2,000-kilometer tributary of the Amazon, exists one of the planet's most biodiverse regions, the region which is the ancestral land of the Kayapos. Known traditionally as fierce warriors, the Kayapo Indians are one of the main native groups of the region. Of about 200,000 population of Amerindians, few thousands are Kayapos scattered across villages. The groups of Kayapos are divided into smaller tribes with their own chiefs, although they all speak the Kayapo language. The Kayapos believe their ancestors learned how to live communally with social insects such as bees. This is why mothers and children paint each other's bodies with patterns that look like animal or insect markings, including those of bees. The lip plate is one of the unique things Kayapos have preserved for years. Young males traditionally have their lips pierced and begin to wear plates when they enter the men's house and leave the world of women. Lip plates made of light wood are associated with oratory and singing. The largest plates are worn by the greatest orators and war chiefs. The Kayapos have been resisting absorption into the dominant culture. Kayapos have been struggling hard to preserve their heritage and the biodiversity around them. Pop star Sting made the plight of the Kayapo known to the wider world. One Kayapo chief, Raoni, left his Amazon homeland for a time and traveled widely with Sting. Kayapos have been protesting activities that threaten forests and their natural surroundings. Raoni has now become a global voice advocating natural balance. There was a great victory for Kayapos in 1980s when they won a high-profile victory against a dam. This helped prevent a devastation of their forest in the Xingu River Valley. Today, the battle continues.
They are still building dams and clearing the forest. If they clear all the forests, it could be catastrophic. There will be strong winds, temperatures will rise, and there could be lots of fires too. Many bad things will happen. If they cut down the whole forest, our grandchildren and future generations will have no air to breathe.
Logging and mining, particularly for gold, have posed threats to the Kayapos' traditional way of life. Other threats have included agricultural activities and cattle ranching in cleared-out sections of the jungle. The increasing destruction of the rainforest is also harming the delicate balance between humans, plants and animals, successfully maintained for thousands of years by Amazon Indians such as Kayapos. However, there has been constructive work in order to address the worries of Kayapos, but a lot more needs to be done so that what has been preserved for ages passes on to forthcoming generations safely.
You deserve an Oscar. That's what Leonardo DiCaprio's fans have been saying for nearly 20 years. And he may just make the grade this year at the 88th Academy Awards.
The 2-month-long award season will reach its climax on Sunday night, when the Oscar statuettes will be given away in a grand ceremony in Los Angeles. As people gear up for the big night, which promises its share of fashion and glamour, the question which remains on everyone's mind is, will Leonardo DiCaprio get it this time? The 7-time Academy Award nominee has bagged the Golden Globe and BAFTA this year and will be hoping to add the elusive Oscar to his award kitty for his performance in survival drama The Revenant. DiCaprio will be against the likes of Matt Damon for The Martian, Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl for the Best Actor award. Brie Larson is nominated for the Best Actress Oscar for her role in The Room, along with Cate Blanchett for Carol, among others. In the race for the Best Picture are The Bridge of Spies, The Big Short and Brooklyn. Meanwhile, the red carpet for Oscars rolled out on Wednesday. A special luncheon for the nominees was also organized. As the who's who of the film industry are busy preparing for the big night, have you ever wondered what goes on in their minds as they tirelessly pose with a smile?
It's a very, very busy, fun time in my life. Yes, I'm excited. It's glorious and exhausting at the same time. You don't realize how much energy you're putting out, enjoying yourself, but I sleep really well. I hit the sack. My head hits the pillow and I'm out.
Like last year, the diversity controversy has marred the Academy Awards this year too. It's not just the so white debate. A recent study says that women and minorities are also vastly underrepresented throughout Hollywood. And the best way to end this practice would be to get more people of color involved in film production.
Holding on to memories for centuries, that's one of love's true tests. Holding on to a special moment that has changed one's life forever. One such powerful memory rekindled the desire for lovers separated by circumstances after World War II to meet again after 70 years. 18 till I die, really being meant here.
A scene from World War II. A young soldier and his friend walking on a bridge at Richmond across Thames. Two ladies looking for a boat below. The soldier and his friend offer to row them to get some exercise. Yes, the soldier did end up falling in love with the young woman.
This young lady she had a smile that would melt you. And of course I would melt it. And it very rapidly developed into something from attraction to a very strong affection.
70 years after, love was still in the air when 93-year-old Norwood Thomas met his wartime girlfriend, Joyce Maurice, who is now 88 years of age. Norwood flew around the world from the United States to meet Joyce in Australia. Instrumental to their reconnection was one of Morris's son, who found Norwood online. The pair later Skyped regularly. When the story got online, many came forward to fund Norwood's trip to Adelaide. And the two were soon able to meet each other in person.
It was a wonderful feeling to see this woman that I hadn't seen for 70 years. Of course, there was a great difference in appearance, but there's a big difference in my appearance too, so. But it was a wonderful experience.
Joyce was a pretty 17-year-old British girl and Norwood a 20-year-old when the pair had first met. Their love was soon tested when Norwood had to return to the States after the war. He asked Joyce to marry him and move in with him, but things took a different turn. Both ended up marrying other people and leading their own lives in two corners of the world. Thomas's wife died in 2001, while Morris divorced her husband after 30 years. A few days before Valentine's Day this year, the two sweethearts once again got another chance to rekindle their love after 70 years.
This brings this edition of World Connect to a close. We've been happy to receive your feedback. Our email ID, as always, is worldconnect.ddnews@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook. Now, Thomas and Joyce's story, it tells us that we are never too old to feel like dancing. And the US President Barack Obama also found that out earlier this week as he and his wife Michelle, they danced with the ever-young 106-year-old Virginia McLaurin. Thanks very much for watching. Namaskar.
You want to say hi to Michelle? Yeah! Slow down now. She's 106.
No, you are not. You are not.
Well, you gotta slow down.
Oh my goodness. I want to be like you.
She's dancing? Come on. So what's the secret to still dancing at 106?
Yes, sir. I would never live to get in the white. Well, you are here. I tell you. You are here. We are happy to have you. Look at him. Yay. Right there. That's me. Yes. And I'm here to celebrate like this. That's exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm here. That's well, we're glad to have you here. You have just made our day. You know that? That energy, man.